The massive ship Legacy drifted through the darkness of space, its metal hull scarred by 500,000 years of cosmic dust. Inside, Captain Mark stood at the observation deck, his enhanced eyes focusing on the distant stars. He was born in space, like every human had been for countless generations, but something deep inside him remembered Earth. They all did. "Mother," he called out to the ship's AI, "show me Earth again." The air in front of him shimmered, and a hologram appeared. It showed a beautiful blue planet with white clouds and green continents. This was Earth as it had been before the destroyers came, before everything changed. Your heart rate increases 2.3% every time you view this image, Captain, Mother said, her voice warm and caring. Just like your predecessor. Mark smiled. Mother had been with them since the beginning, since that terrible day when the destroyers appeared in Earth's orbit without warning. She had helped the survivors escape, had kept them alive, and had guided their evolution through the centuries. How many are awake now? Mark asked, turning away from Earth's image. 4,322 crew members are currently active, Mother replied. All final generation warriors, ready for their purpose. Mark nodded. They were all that remained of humanity, but they were no longer the same humans who had fled Earth. Their bodies were stronger, their minds faster, and their technology far beyond what their ancestors could have imagined. 500,000 years of preparation had changed them in ways the destroyers couldn't possibly expect. He walked through the ship's corridors, passing other crew members who nodded respectfully. Everyone knew what day it was. After centuries of searching, they had finally found what they were looking for. In the ship's command center, Officer Tom was studying data streams that flowed through the air around him. "Captain," he said, straightening up, "the signals are getting stronger. They're definitely destroyer communications." "Show me," Mark ordered. The room filled with lines of alien code. To their ancestors, it would have been impossible to understand. But they had spent 500,000 years studying everything about their enemy. Mark read the alien language as easily as his own. "They've grown soft," Tom said, a hint of satisfaction in his voice. "Their encryption hasn't changed in over 10,000 years. They think no one can challenge them anymore." Mark touched one of the floating data streams, expanding it. "How many worlds have they taken since Earth?" "Hundreds," Tom replied. "They're still doing it, still finding peaceful civilizations and destroying them for their resources." A quiet anger filled the room. This was why they had survived, why they had spent 500 millennia preparing, not just for Earth, but for all the worlds that had fallen since, and all those that would fall if the destroyers weren't stopped. "Mother," Mark called out, "show me the ship's status." The air filled with green indicators. The Legacy was ready. Their weapons were beyond anything the destroyers could imagine. Their shields could withstand the strongest attacks. Their engines could bend space itself. "We are operating at 99.98% efficiency," Mother reported. "All systems are combat ready." Mark looked at the crew around him. In their eyes, he saw the same thing he felt in his heart. They were ready. After 500,000 years, humanity had returned. "Send word to the other ships," he ordered. There were 4 more like the Legacy, each carrying thousands of the Vault humans. "Tell them we found them." As the message went out, Mark looked one more time at the image of Earth. Soon, they would make the destroyers understand what it meant to destroy a world, to end a civilization, to create an enemy that would spend 500,000 years preparing for revenge. "We remember," he whispered, repeating the words that had been passed down through 5,000 centuries. "We remember Earth." In the darkness of space, 5 massive ships began to move. Humanity was coming back, and the galaxy would never be the same. Dr. Anna stood in her lab aboard the Legacy, watching the young crew member's wound heal itself in seconds. 500,000 years had changed humanity in amazing ways. Their bodies could now fix themselves faster than any medicine their ancestors had made. "How does it feel?" she asked, making notes in the air with quick movements of her fingers. "Like nothing happened, The crew member replied, touching the spot where a deep cut had been just moments ago. "Will we be ready for the fight?" Anna nodded. "We're more than ready. The destroyers won't know what they're facing." She walked to a large window that showed the inside of the ship's massive holding bay. Rows of battle suits stood ready, each one alive in its own way. The suits were part machine, part living tissue, grown from the same changed cells that made humans heal so quickly now. "Mother," Anna called out, "show me the latest scans of the destroyer ships we detected." The air filled with images of enemy vessels. They were big and powerful, but Anna smiled when she saw them. They hadn't changed much in 500,000 years. The destroyers thought they were the strongest beings in the galaxy. They had no reason to improve. But humans had changed everything about themselves. Their eyes could see things their ancestors couldn't even imagine. Their brains worked faster than the best computers from old Earth. Even their blood was different, carrying tiny machines that could fight off any disease or poison. Captain Mark entered the lab, his steps silent despite his large frame. Another change. Humans could now control every part of their bodies perfectly. "Dr. Anna," he said, "tell me we have good news." Anna waved her hand, and the images of destroyer ships were replaced by data about human weapons and defenses. "Better than good. Look at these numbers. Our smallest ship could fight their largest one and win." "And the suits?" "Ready. Each one is 10 times stronger than the ones we tested last year. They can heal themselves, adapt to any weapon the destroyers use, and keep our people safe even in the worst battles." Mark nodded, but Anna saw worry in his enhanced eyes. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Sometimes I wonder," he said quietly, "if we're still human at all. We've changed so much." Anna touched his arm. "We're human where it matters. In our hearts, in our memories, in our drive to protect others from what happened to Earth." The ship's AI, Mother, joined their conversation. "Dr. Anna is correct, Captain. Despite all physical changes, your core emotional and moral structures remain human. You feel the same things your ancestors felt. You just have better tools to act on those feelings." Their talk was interrupted by Officer Tom's voice coming through the ship's communication system. "Captain, Dr. Anna, you need to see this." In the command center, Tom showed them new data from their scans of destroyer space. "They've grown lazy," he said. "Their biggest ships are slow. Their weapons take too long to charge. They haven't had a real fight in thousands of years." "Because no one was left to fight them," Mark said. "Until now." Anna brought up an image of their battle fleet. 5 massive ships, filled with evolved humans and their living technology. "We're not just fighting for revenge anymore. We're fighting to protect every other species in the galaxy from them." Mark looked at the data, at the signs of destroyer weakness and human strength. 500,000 years ago, humanity had run away to survive. Now they were coming back, not as victims, but as warriors who could finally end the destroyer's reign of terror. "Prepare the fleet," he ordered. "It's time to show them that humanity didn't just survive. We evolved, we got stronger, and we never forgot." Through the ship's windows, the stars seemed to watch and wait. The next phase of humanity's return was about to begin, and the galaxy would learn what 500,000 years of preparation truly meant. The stealth probe slipped through space like a ghost, its living metal skin absorbing all scans and signals. Officer Tom watched through the probe's eyes as it approached the destroyer outpost. After 500 millennia, humans were about to see their ancient enemy up close again. "Recording everything," he said quietly, though Mother would have done it anyway. "Look at their defenses. They're not even trying to hide their weak spots." The destroyer station hung in space like a massive metal star. Ships came and went, carrying resources stolen from conquered worlds. The probe's advanced sensors picked up everything: power readings, shield frequencies, weapon systems. The destroyer's technology had barely changed since Earth's destruction. "How many civilian ships?" Captain Mark asked from behind him. Tom checked the readings. "About 30% of their traffic. They're still conquering worlds, but now they make others do the work for them. Slaves, basically. The probe sent back images from inside some of the ships. The sight made Tom's enhanced heart beat faster with anger. Species from 100 different worlds worked under destroyer guards, moving resources and building weapons that would help destroy even more civilizations. They haven't spotted our probe, Dr. Anna noted, joining them at the command station. Our stealth technology is working perfectly. They can't see anything their sensors aren't specifically looking for, and they're not looking for anything new. They think they've killed all their real enemies. Mark nodded. Show me their command center. The probe's view shifted, looking through the station's walls with advanced scanning technology. They saw the destroyers for the first time in 500,000 years. The aliens were tall, with gray-blue skin and 4 arms, but they moved slowly now, without the military precision that old Earth records showed. They'd gotten soft, Tom said. Look at their reaction times. When alarms go off, they take twice as long to respond as their ancestors did. They're not warriors anymore. They're bullies who only fight enemies weaker than themselves. Mother, Mark called out. Analysis of their current combat effectiveness compared to Earth time records. The ship's AI responded immediately. Destroyer military readiness has decreased by approximately 63% since the destruction of Earth. Their weapons are 12% more powerful, but response times and tactical decisions are significantly slower. They rely heavily on automated systems and overwhelming force rather than skill. Mark was quiet for a moment, watching the destroyers go about their daily routine, unaware that humanity's greatest warriors were studying their every move. It's time, he finally said. Tom, prepare the message. Anna, get our people ready. We're done hiding. Tom's fingers danced through the air, preparing the signal they had waited so long to send. The probe moved into position, ready to broadcast on all destroyer frequencies. Message ready, Tom reported, broadcasting in 3, 2, 1. Across the destroyer station, every screen, every communication device, every computer suddenly showed the same thing. A simple message in the destroyer's own language. We remember Earth. Through the probe's sensors, they watched chaos spread through the station. Alarms blared. Destroyers ran to battle stations they hadn't seriously used in centuries. Panic spread as they realized what the message meant. Second broadcast ready, Tom said, looking at his captain. Mark nodded. Show them. The probe transmitted again. This time, it showed images of the human fleet. 5 massive ships, more advanced than anything the destroyers had. Inside each one, thousands of the Vault humans, ready for battle. The message was clear. Humanity hadn't just survived. They had grown stronger. They had evolved. And they had come back. Their long-range transmitters are activating, Tom reported with satisfaction. They're warning their whole empire. Soon, every destroyer will know. The humans have returned. Good, Mark said. Let them remember how it feels to be afraid. In the darkness of space, the Legacy and its sister ships moved forward. First contact was about to happen again, but this time, humanity wasn't the helpless victim. This time, they were the nightmare that the destroyers had created, coming back to bring justice to the galaxy. Panic spread through the destroyer empire like a wave. Their long-range communications network, unused to carrying urgent messages, struggled to keep up with the flood of signals. On 1,000 worlds, destroyer commanders watched the same terrifying images. 5 massive ships of unknown design, carrying the descendants of a species they thought they had destroyed 500,000 years ago. In the Legacy's command center, Officer Tom tracked the chaos with satisfaction. Their entire command structure is falling apart, he reported. They're giving contradictory orders. Some outposts are preparing to fight, others are trying to run. Show me their homeworld's response, Captain Mark ordered. The air filled with translations of destroyer communications. Their leaders were shouting at each other, demanding explanations, trying to understand how humans had survived, how they had evolved, how they had grown so powerful. "They're scrambling their fleet," Tom said. "But their ships are scattered across too many worlds. It will take them days to gather a real fighting force." Dr. Anna studied the data flowing through the air. "Their technology is practically the same as it was when they destroyed Earth. They never thought they needed to improve. Why would they? They were the strongest species in known space. Until now," Mark said quietly. He turned to the ship's eye. "Mother, prepare for Phase 2. It's time to show them exactly what they're facing." A small destroyer patrol fleet approached the Legacy, weapons charged. They fired without warning, energy beams streaking through space toward the human ship. The attacks hit the Legacy's shields and simply disappeared, absorbed by the living metal that humans had developed over centuries. "No damage," Mother reported calmly. "Their weapons are operating at 12% of our shield capacity." Mark nodded. "Show them our response." The Legacy's hull rippled, living metal flowing like water. A single weapon port opened, small and precise. The energy beam that shot out was almost invisible, but it cut through 3 destroyer ships like they were made of paper. The remaining ships tried to turn and flee. "Let one escape," Mark ordered. "They need to see what they're facing." Through their sensors, they watched the surviving destroyer ship race away, broadcasting everything it had seen. More panic spread through the destroyer empire. Their strongest weapons had done nothing. Their shields had failed instantly. The humans they had failed to exterminate had returned with power they couldn't understand. "Their leaders are calling an emergency meeting," Tom reported, monitoring their communications. "They're finally starting to realize what they're dealing with." Dr. Anna stepped forward. "Captain, look at these readings. Some of their colonies are already evacuating. They're running from worlds they stole, abandoning resources they killed for." "Good." Mark's enhanced eyes studied the tactical display. "Send the second message." Across destroyer space, on every planet they had stolen and every station they had built, screens lit up with a new transmission. This time, they saw Captain Mark himself, standing tall and proud, his evolved form a testimony to what humanity had become. "500,000 years ago, you tried to destroy us," he said in perfect destroyer language. "You killed our world, burned our cities, thought you had ended humanity forever. But we survived. We evolved. We prepared. And now we've returned." The message played on every frequency, impossible to block or ignore. "You have a choice," Mark continued. "Surrender now, face justice for your crimes, or learn what it means to fight an enemy who spent 500,000 years getting ready for revenge." In the silence that followed, the Legacy and its sister ships moved forward through space, their living metal hulls gleaming in starlight. On 1,000 worlds, destroyers watched in terror as humanity returned to the galaxy, no longer as victims, but as the most powerful force they had ever faced. The true war was about to begin. The destroyers finally gathered their fleet. 3,000 warships filled the space around their core worlds, their weapons charged and ready. It was the largest military force they had assembled in 50,000 years. From their command ships, they watched the 5 human vessels approach and felt confident. Surely nothing could survive such overwhelming numbers. They were wrong. "They're trying to surround us," Officer Tom reported from his station on the Legacy. 3,000 ships against our 5. He smiled. "They still don't understand." Captain Mark watched the enemy fleet through the Legacy's advanced sensors. "Mother, activate the battle systems. Show them what we've become." The Legacy's hull began to change. The living metal that made up the ship's skin rippled and flowed, forming new weapons, new shields, new shapes that the destroyers had never seen before. The other 4 human ships did the same, their forms shifting like liquid metal in space. "All battle suits ready," Dr. Anna reported from her lab. "Our people are linking with their ships now." Dr. Anna walked through the captured destroyer ship, her battle suit moving silently despite its power. The ship's hulls were filled with data crystals, and as she studied them, she found something that changed everything. "Captain," She called through the ship's communication system. "You need to see this." In the destroyer ship's main computer room, she showed Captain Mark what she had discovered. The data crystals contained historical records, messages, and personal logs from the time of Earth's destruction. But they told a different story than humans had believed for 500,000 years. "Look at these," she said, projecting the translated messages into the air. Not all destroyers wanted to attack Earth. There was a whole peace movement. Their military acted without full government approval. Mark read the ancient messages, his enhanced mind processing the information quickly. They tried to stop it. A large group did. They thought Earth should be contacted peacefully. They wanted to trade, to learn from humans, but the military leaders attacked anyway. Anna pulled up more records. These destroyers were punished for speaking against the war. Some were even killed. Through their suit's communication system, Officer Tom's voice joined the conversation. "Captain, we're finding similar evidence on other captured ships. The current destroyer government isn't the same one that attacked Earth. These are their descendants, but they've been living with guilt for centuries." Mark stood silently, watching the flow of historical data. 500,000 years of planning revenge, and now they learned that their enemy wasn't as simple as they thought. Mother's voice added to the discussion, her AI wisdom carefully measured. "I am detecting significant changes in destroyer society over the past 1,000 years," she reported. "They have been trying to change their ways. The number of worlds they conquer has decreased. They offer more autonomy to subject species. They remember Earth as their greatest shame." In the Legacy's holding bay, thousands of destroyer prisoners waited. Mark walked among them, studying their faces. They were afraid, but he saw something else too. Relief, as if they had been waiting for this day, waiting for justice to finally come. "We're approaching their capital world," Tom reported. "Their remaining fleet is in defensive positions. But, Captain, they're protecting civilian ships, helping them evacuate. They're not acting like the monsters who destroyed Earth." Mark reached out to touch the cold wall of the captured ship. "Mother, what would the humans of Earth have wanted? Not what we want after 500,000 years of planning revenge. What would our ancestors have truly wanted?" The ship's eye was quiet for a moment. Based on all historical records of human behavior and ethics, they would have wanted justice. But they would not have wanted genocide. They would not have wanted us to become what we hated. Dr. Anna stepped forward. "Captain, we've spent 500,000 years becoming powerful enough to destroy them. But maybe we also spent that time becoming wise enough not to." Through the ship's windows, they could see the destroyer capital world growing larger. Millions of beings lived there. Not just destroyers, but people from hundreds of worlds, all living together. It wasn't the empire of pure evil they had expected to find. "Send a message to their government," Mark finally said. "Tell them we want to speak with their leaders. Tell them we've seen their history, their attempts to change. Tell them." He paused, feeling the weight of 500,000 years of human history on his shoulders. "Tell them there might be another way." The Legacy moved forward through space, but now its weapons were powered down. Behind it, the other 4 human ships did the same. They had come for revenge, but perhaps they would find something more important. A chance to break the cycle of violence that had begun with Earth's destruction. The meeting room on the Legacy was silent as the destroyer leaders entered. They walked slowly, their 4 arms held open to show they carried no weapons. Captain Mark watched them through his enhanced eyes, seeing not the mighty conquerors of legend, but tired beings carrying the weight of ancient sins. "We have reviewed the terms you sent," the destroyer prime leader said, speaking in their own language which all humans now understood. "We accept them all. Our empire will end. Our military will disband. We will help rebuild what our ancestors destroyed." Dr. Anna stood beside Mark, her battle suit powered down but still impressive. "And Earth?" she asked. "As you demanded, all our terraforming technology is yours," another destroyer leader said. "We will help you rebuild your homeworld. It will take time, but it can be done." Officer Tom's screens showed the destroyer fleet standing down across their former empire. Thousands of ships powering down weapons, opening dock bays, releasing control of conquered worlds. 500,000 years of dominance, ending not with a final battle, but with a peaceful surrender. "Mother," Mark called out, "show them." The air filled with images of Earth as it had been, as it was now, and as it could be again. The destroyers watched in silence as the plans for rebuilding humanity's homeworld played out before them. "Our ancestors thought your species was weak because you chose peace first," the Prime Leader said. "We know better now. It takes more strength to show mercy than to destroy." Through the Legacy's windows, they could see ships from 100 different species approaching. Former slave worlds, now free. Former enemies, now potential allies. All coming to witness the end of the Destroyer Empire and the return of humanity. "What your ancestors did to Earth was unforgivable," Mark said, standing tall. "But you're not your ancestors. We're not ours either. We've all evolved, changed, grown." He turned to Dr. Anna. "Show them the final part of our plan." Anna's fingers moved through the air, bringing up new images, not just Earth being rebuilt, but a new galactic council. A place where all species could meet as equals, where the technology and wisdom humanity had gained over 500 millennia could be shared. "Your people will help us rebuild Earth," Mark continued, "not as punishment, but as the first step toward making things right. And then, together, we'll make sure no species ever faces what humanity faced again." The destroyer leaders bowed their heads in agreement. Centuries of guilt were being replaced by a chance for redemption. "The first terraforming ships are ready," Tom reported. "They're waiting for your order, Captain." Mark looked around the room. At the destroyer leaders who chose peace over destruction. At his fellow humans who chose justice over revenge. At the displays showing hundreds of freed worlds celebrating their new future. "Mother," he said softly, "set course for Earth. It's time to go home." The Legacy moved through space, leading a fleet of ships from every species in the former empire. They carried the technology, the knowledge, and the will to bring a dead world back to life. As they traveled, Mark thought about how far humanity had come. They had survived extinction, had evolved into something new, had gained power beyond imagination. But in the end, their greatest evolution wasn't in their bodies or their technology. It was in their hearts, in their ability to rise above the desire for revenge and create something better. 500,000 years after Earth's destruction, humanity was finally going home. Not as vengeful conquerors, but as guardians of peace. Not to destroy, but to rebuild. Not to end something, but to begin something new. The legacy of Earth would live again.